Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton. I'm a narcoleptic comedian, and this is the podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. This is my 76th episode, and I interviewed Seth Origitano. Seth is an awesome guy. He's not only a clown, but he's also the creative director of Acme Theatrics. They actually have an Indiegogo going on right now, and you can check out their Facebook page, facebook.com/Acme Theatrics. And they have a cool show coming out at the Playground called The Greatest Alive Show Ever Live. And that is on February 16th at 8 p.m. and February 17th at 9 p.m. at the Playground Theater in Chicago. So be sure to check that out. We had a really fun conversation. We talked about clowning, the 4 pillars of clowning and physical comedy, immersive theater, the importance of that. We talked about education and how things have changed with the internet for the good or the bad, mostly bad. And we also talked about depression and how sadness isn't always funny, but you can try to find a lighter way to deal with it. And we came up with a phrase about don't try to act like you're still on your horse or you might be trampled by it. And also follow what's most attractive to you. We talked a lot about philosophy in terms of life and how theater and physical immersion can affect that. And it's just a really fun conversation. I had a blast with it. Real quick, I've got a couple things to plug as well. Super Narcoleptic Girl. We're doing screenings in New York on February 9th. Doors open at 7, shows at 7:30 at the 20 Bar, which is 177 Grand Street. We have a half stand-up show, half screening, and our stand-up lineup for our New York show is amazing. And our New York show is in Brooklyn. That's in Williamsburg. So, in case there's another 20 Bar in New York. And anyways, our lineup is amazing. We have Josh Johnson, who's written on The Daily Show. He's been on The Tonight Show. We have Thelonious Monk. He just came off a run of a one-man show at Second City in D.C. We have Rebecca O'Neill, who's been on Easy, and it's being hosted by Amy Shanker. It's going to be a blast. You should come out. It's free, and you can reserve tickets at sngwebseries.com. You can also check us out in L.A. on February 15th at Nerd Melt at 7 p.m. And please follow us at SNG Web Series on Twitter and Instagram. Sleeping with Sarah is brought to you by Audible.com. You can go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend one of our past guests, Laurie Kilmartin's book, Dead People Suck, A Guide for Survivors of the Newly Departed. That comes up early next week on February 13th. You can get that on Amazon or you can get it on Audible. She narrates it, and so I strongly recommend that. Laurie's an awesome person, and I'm really excited to read this book. So, Dead People Suck by Laurie Kilmartin, and you can go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get that book for free. Okay, if you like the podcast, please rate and subscribe. We're on Spotify now. We're on iTunes. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Google Play, all the things. You can go to sleepingwithsarah.com for more info, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Well, let's get started with the show. Sleeping with Sarah. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm here with my friend Seth.
Hello.
Hello. Man, you've had such a fake Facebook last name. I almost forget your real name.
I've had many different Facebook last names, and they always change. My real name is Origitano.
Origitano. Okay. Because that almost sounds fake. But
it almost does. It almost sounds too Italian.
It almost sounds like it could have been a pasta, but like a rejected pasta.
I've heard many different renditions of said name. Some have said it's an Irish Italian because there's an O in front of it. I have met a Origitano, same spelling without the O. He was actually my karate instructor. He thought I was lying to him when I first met him. But yeah. Long name.
Yeah. How'd you sleep last night, Seth?
Last night wasn't bad, actually. I spent most of the day inside because of the weather. No, it was either inside or inside a car. So I got a lot of work done, and I was actually going to stay up later, but I was like, I'm feeling kind of tired. I'm going to sleep. How did you sleep last night?
Actually, last night was kind of crazy because I have been working on set. So I have been doing some PA work for this documentary, and it was like the 6th or 7th day I was working yesterday, and it was like a 12-hour day. And the day before, I had like a 10 or 11 hour day, and then I had to go to my screening, and then like, so my sleep stuff was a little off. So I basically came home. I was like, I'm going to take a nap. And then I woke up at midnight, and I was like, I'm going to go back to sleep.
Yeah, those are great. Oh, you can go back to sleep?
Yeah.
Oh, I am so envious of people like you. No, after I'm up, I'm up. Like, if I were to take a nap anytime after 3 o'clock, I am not sleeping until about 4 a.m. And it's just torture.
Oh, weird. So you're kind of insomniac. You're like the opposite of me.
I had there was a word for it where it was like, yeah, I am the opposite. That's interesting. I am the opposite of you.
Yeah.
Especially like if someone wakes me up in the morning, it's up. I'm up. So if I get woken up at like 4 or 5 in the morning by a roommate or something, there's no going back to sleep.
Whoa.
At this point, I just like put on a pot of coffee. I'm like, I guess I'm going to have an early start to my day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I feel like I'd be way more productive if that happened, but I take certain things that help me sleep at night too, like I've got weird sleep cycles and shit.
Yeah. Oh, sleep onset insomnia.
Sleep onset insomnia.
That's what it's called. Because I can still sleep, I just have a hard time doing it.
SOI. SOI. Yeah.
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 Not perfect.
No, that's interesting. Have you taken anything for it? Or do you do tea or anything?
Cannabis.
Yeah. Weed. That's the way to go.
Pretty much. That's about that. Because like alcohol actually makes me sleep awfully. Like, that's not good English, but...
Yep. Alcohol is not good for the sleeping. I mean, you pass out, but that's not the healthy thing.
I never hit REM sleep or anything like that, and I'll always wake up really early. Yeah.
So, but I feel like you do a lot of physical things throughout your day. So does that make you more tired, or...
It's all strategy, because if I have like a video game day where I just play video games, I won't sleep that well. So like, as a child of ADHD and growing up to be an adult of ADHD, like I've never been a big fan of medication for it. So I tried other things. So like physical activities, how I get sleep. So like I usually try and be physical. And then at the end of the day, if I haven't done anything, I'll at least like try and stretch for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Cause you were always, even when we did improv together years ago, we were, you were always like the physical, you always added in physicality into it.
Well, that's like my trade now. I'm a physical theater guy. Like I teach movement, I teach physicality, and I am a clown. I am a trained clown.
Certified clown.
Yeah.
Where were you trained at?
I was certified under Dean Evans in Chicago. So I've never been to like college. I'm a clown college dropout, which is a great thing to say.
That's a great thing to have in your clown resume.
Yeah. But I don't know, in my philosophy where it comes is like, there's no knowledge that's more special or better than other knowledges. There's just like different viewpoints of certain things. And so I found clown teachers and people in clowning that I really liked, and I liked the way they taught, and I liked their perspective. And I just followed them around. Like I would buy them coffee and try and pick their brain. I would go see their shows. And then whenever they had workshops or classes, like I'd be there. I'd take them. So, like I haven't had like any big school, but I just like follow. And then once I started putting it in practice, meeting other clowns and like seeing what their performance is, then I learned even more and I would try more. Now, when I say clown though, this is the big thing. Because I don't mean like children's birthday.
No, I know what you mean.
I know you know.
Yes.
But we're recording it so other people can hear.
Yes. So define theater clown that you would...
Well, I mean, the way I do it when I talk about my classes, I'm not talking about John Wayne Gacy, or a circus clown. Or like your white-faced birthday clown. I'm talking about like a 1700s French performer that would travel the countryside and be able to perform regardless of the language. Like it's like that, or the clown archetype, which is used a lot in writing and storytelling.
Or like Commedia dell'arte, or like the Punch and Judy. Those are more. I know it's more puppetry, but it kind of comes from the same.
Well, it just comes in like the same. It's like a performance philosophy. It's like the same thing as like someone that studies Meisner's or someone
that's what I did.
Yeah.
I did Meisner.
Yeah, that's some That's some cryptic shit right there.
Yeah,
huh?
It's intense. It's intense. This is why I gravitated towards comedy, because all the plays we did were very intense and very serious.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I had a Meisner's class once where they actually like stopped the class and they yelled at me. Not yelled, but like they're like, you got to stop trying to be so silly and charming. Like you got to be serious. And I was trying to tell them like, I'm just being myself. Like I'm just a goober. Like I'm just a silly cat. And then I remember them telling me, they're like, listen, you could probably get all the work you want being funny and being clown. But if you want to play Hamlet or you want to be in August Osage County, you got to do it this way. And then I quit the next day. Because I was like, why the fuck do I want to be Hamlet? I would prefer to be a clown.
See, I would do the intense things, and then I did a study abroad where I took a clowning class. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized that I could be funny and fun. And then after that, I started taking classes at I.O. because I went to school like an hour and a half away. Mm-hmm. Started taking classes at I.O. on like the day we had off.
Hour and a half drives to I.O.?
Yeah.
Surf.
Yeah, sometimes I would take the train in sometimes. Uh-huh. But, well, maybe it wasn't that long. Maybe, like with, yeah, it was DeKalb.
I mean, I know what you're talking about.
I would go on my Sundays, and then I would go and do I.O. And then I did Second City Conservatory that way too, so I was doing that throughout school. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, but there's the clowning. I took a clowning class from Mick Barnfather mm-hmm. At British American Drama Academy, and he really, like, made me realize, this is really fun. I could be... Because I'd taken improv as a kid, but mm-hmm. not, like... I took it, like, when I was, like, 8 or 9, mm-hmm. you know? And then I've been in mostly serious plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then. I mean, for me, clowning has, like, 3, maybe 4, like, huge pillars that I like to teach and that I, like, follow on. And it's, like, one is the physicality. Mm-hmm. So it's about, like, really being in good connection with your body because you emote with your body. You act with your body. Someone who is afraid, you can show fear mm-hmm. in your body. And in fact, if you do it, you'll be a better actor. Mm-hmm. And like, especially with some improvisers, a lot of them just stand and talk.
Yeah, they don't show the emotion with their facial expressions. And
it's just more than your facial expressions.
I mean, your whole body.
Throughout your life, you emote with your whole body. Like mm-hmm. every time when someone's turned on to someone, their whole self is put on.
Well, it's also the energy.
It's the energy. Well, the energy is fed through your physicality, you know? And like the second one is like the clown character, the character itself of like, what happens when you take being silly seriously and like mm-hmm. where that can go. Like Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson has like lectures on how to be an idiot, but they're like hour-long, very well thought out, poignant discussions about how to play a moron or someone stupid. So I always like to be as dumb as possible at the height of my intelligence.
That's really interesting. Be as dumb as possible at the height of your intelligence. I love that.
It's parody. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. That juxtaposition. Because like satire's huge right now, especially mm-hmm. with 45 up in the office. Everyone's talking about it. Yeah. And so like a lot of stuff I like to do, I don't want to do satire because mm-hmm. so many other people are doing satire. But what I can do is do some very submersive, like low end, like takes you a minute to really understand mm-hmm. like that you're making fun of somebody.
See, I think that's really interesting. And what I love about clowning too is you don't even have to say anything that makes it. You can use gibberish or mm-hmm. you can use and I did some mask work too mm-hmm. in clowning. But there was one exercise I remember that really stood out when you're talking about the physicality. Mm-hmm. There was an exercise where we had to go from crying to laughing, and mm-hmm. it made me realize that actually the physicality of the crying and the laughing is very similar physically.
Same damn thing.
It's the same thing. And I didn't realize that until I was doing comedy. But the whole thing of like, you know, like that motion in your stomach.
Taking the breath, and you cry when you laugh really hard,
and
too.
So the exercise was to go immediately, like, from crying to laughing, uh-huh. from crying to and it was really fascinating the way that I never thought that physicality had such a... And so now, honestly, if I ever had to cry, first I do the physical mm-hmm. shaking and the thing, and then my body catches up, and then that's how I can cry if I need to.
Your physicality informs your mental state, too. There's a lot of people that will do, like, the 2-minute power pose. That's a good...
What's that one?
You stand in a power pose for 2 minutes, and then it helps, like, release some endorphins, and it helps change your mentality. And what I like to say
What's an example of a power pose?
Wonder Woman.
Okay.
You know, that's a good power
warrior
pose.
From
that's a strong power
okay.
pose. I mean, warrior if you want your arms held that long, but like a position of dominance and confidence can help like inform your mental state.
I've never thought about that. So some people I'm more of a give myself a pep talk in the mirror kind of gal, but I will try that.
Do that in a power stance, and it'll like double up on that.
I will try that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So there's the whole philosophy beyond within the clowning.
Well, yeah, and then it goes into the third pillar that I always like to talk about, which is the play. The art of play. Yes. I think what really got me into clowning was, one, people were like, you're really physical, but what made me commit towards a thing that usually terrifies people and makes them unmatch me on Tinder when I tell them I'm a clown.
Oh, you're a clown on Tinder. We're going to go back to that.
Sure, I'm ready for it. Is interaction with the audience. I thought was like my favorite, because if I am going to see a theatrical production, there's humans there. They're in the space. I can feel their energy. I can see the whites of their eyes. It's not like a television screen. Because when you watch a TV, to me, like, then you're getting the cinematographer's view and you have all these other things, but like
and you're actually, whenever you watch something that's on TV, in my opinion, you're being shown the way you're supposed to, like, there's a specific way you're supposed to watch it, and that's the only way you can watch it. Versus theater, you can be watching multiple things on stage, multiple people.
Yeah.
You could be, there's a whole difference, and the energy is so different, and there's nothing like having the energy of the crowd being invested in what you're doing and feeding back into that, and then that feeds.
Oh, it's like drugs. It's so good.
It is like drugs.
It's so good.
It is like drugs.
When you finish like a good set, when you had an interaction with the audience and you just had like this awesome feeling and you just made everyone feel good about themselves and like got people out of their comfort zone and then made them comfortable outside their comfort zone with humor. It's just like it's a shot of happy cocaine to the brain. It is. And that's what play is about. Like, play is about being playful. And then what it really informed me was being playful with my scene partners, of like really giving them all the attention and nothing else. So like, I haven't done improv in a heavy minute, but
me either.
Okay,
good. I did it. I think in the summer, one of my friends, Vicky, she wanted me to do this like online improv thing with her, and so I did it, and that was fun. Whatever.
How did that translate?
That was like what it was. It was like 5 or 6 people. It was like an online live improv thing that was like streamed. Were
you doing improv with people streaming from other places?
No. All the people were doing improv together were physically in the same place,
room.
But the audience was not physically there. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was a little different. But I mean, I don't consider myself an improviser anymore. If I use improv as a tool when I'm writing,
right?
If it's like, hey, let's write this scene. Oh, let's improv this out real quick, and it's honestly more dialogue heavy.
It's a heavy scene. When I use it a lot when I'm directing and writing the shows for my theater company. What I'll do is,
what's your theater company called?
It's called Acme Theatrics.
Acme Theatrics.
Yes. Yeah.
Acme from Roadrunner.
100% from Looney Tunes. One of the and it was because at 24 years of age, I learned what Acme actually meant.
What does it mean?
It means the greatest. It's the best. Yeah. It's the highest quality.
It's the highest point, yeah.
And so, like, I got that joke, like, 20 years later, that every product's Acme, but it's all garbage, and it doesn't work. And I was like, oh, that's amazing.
I didn't even think... Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, right. It hits you right there, and you're like, what a submersive, amazing joke.
That is.
Yeah. And then... It would have been theater, but that's clearly been copywritten, so we did theatrics.
Yeah.
So I'll write these scenes and these characters for people, and we'll work with it, and then I'll tell some of them, be like, all right, just hit these beats, and then you can do whatever you want. Like, you could totally improvise. I'll improvise with you. You just gotta hit these beats, and then stay in character. And a lot of times, it's phenomenal. Yeah. Every once in a while, it sucks, but...
Hey, there's the honesty there.
That's what happens. You can't. Not every scene's gonna crush.
That's so fun. Well, that's what I do like is the sense of play, and that's what I do love about improv is there is that sense of playfulness and being silly, being able to like let go and do that. And I think that was something I always had trouble with too because I'm in my head a lot and I kind of want to rewrite the script in my mind. That's why I write more now,
right?
And do more written material.
Well, what I wanted to do was invite the audience members to that wonderful thing that we feel as when we were doing improv, when you're having that much fun. Yeah. So that's why I started Acme Theatrics. Right now we have a flagship show that's mainly a vaudeville, and we have two different written shows, but because of vaudeville we can just like swap out and change it. It's like Human Muppets, but rated R.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's called, the one we got coming up is called The Greatest Valentine's Day Show Alive Ever Live tonight for one night only. And it's going to be on for 2 nights because nothing makes sense.
I love that. It's almost like, did you ever study Dadaism at all?
No.
So Dadaism, oh gosh, I'm probably going to get this definition wrong. So Dadaism is a type of theater where nothing is supposed to make sense.
Oh, I love it already. I don't know why I haven't. I'm probably going to go get a book tonight.
Yeah. And so Dada, it's... So, like, an example of Dada would be, like, somebody reading stereo instructions while, like, taking a shower but using egg, like, raw egg to take the shower on top of.
Oh,
that's what somebody did in one of our...
Really,
it's really
weird stuff.
It's really weird shit. Okay. And I don't know how... Like, that was something somebody did in my theater school. Somebody did a Dada presentation, and that's what she did.
That sounds like a...
It's really, like, supposed to not make sense, and that's part of it.
It sounds like some French stuff, like...
Yeah. I mean, it's... I'm probably defining it incorrectly, but, like... It's been a while since I was in college and I studied that shit. So,
that's interesting stuff.
But you should look it up. It's fascinating.
I will. Dada.
D-A-D-A.
D-A-D-A? Oh, Dada. Okay.
Dadaism.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, like, immersive theater is a huge thing. And there's very different... through my studies and research, there's a lot of different styles of immersive theater where you have, like, some where, like, you are the show. And you get some real avant-garde stuff. And then you can have, like, other ones where there's levels of participation, like murder mystery. Blue Man Group's a great example. I like the Blue Man Group style where, like, because...
You're probably the right height for a Blue Man.
Oh, yeah, but I can't keep a beat. I can't drum for squat. But, so, like, an Acme shows, what I like to do is... and every show we try and do more and better and better. And, like, I want to get to the point where... I've got a bellhop character holding the door for you and then slinging jokes at you.
Oh, at the very...
I want the bartender set up. I would prefer the bartender to be a puppet somehow. Like, the second you get into the place, the experience is starting.
So a little like Tony and Tina's Wedding, a little bit mixed with... You know, like, I mean, but that's very, very scripted, but it's still like the interactions and all that.
I would say almost more of a Flanagan's Wake... meets music festival would be what I'm trying to get to, actually.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Because, like, the scenes, when we do the performances, there's no fourth wall, but there's still a stage. Like, we're talking to the audience. They are with us. So, like, if anything happens, a lot of times they get to have effect on the show, and we'll have really great one. You'd love this. Have you ever met Mark Ranucci?
Sounds familiar.
He's a stand-up around Chicago. He's our resident stand-up at Acme. He's a really good one-liner. Very non-sequitur jokes, perfect for what we're trying to do.
Got it.
We don't,
You want something that goes along with that vibe.
Yeah. And so I sat down with him and we wrote a scene of the comedian. As I had another stand-up comedian scene character, but, like, it was performed by Aaron Schubert Long, and the way that she does it, no one else can do that style of performance. Where, like, she never finishes a joke, but she always, like...
Gets a punchline.
It's very strange. But, so the way Mark did is he had these great one-liners, and I was like, you're going to use that. And then we give the audience crumpled pieces of paper that look like tomatoes. And so the audience have tomatoes to throw at the stand-up if they don't like the joke. And so there's already that fun interaction of them being able to throw stuff at them, and it's paper, so it doesn't hurt them at all.
Yeah, and it doesn't make a mess.
It doesn't make a mess, yeah. But what it allowed him to do was set up a dialogue between the audience and himself where he could... The bad jokes were part of the jokes, because he would do 2 really good ones and then purposely do a bad one so that they would all throw them at him. And then he could create this conversation with them of, like, oh, well, you'll hate this next one.
that makes me think of Kaufman about when he did like a set and he bombed and then he went back up and did the same exact 5 minutes and then it crushed because he was, because it was clearly he was just repeating the same. And who would do that?
Kaufman's was out of his fucking mind. But yeah, respectively to that man, but still, like, woo! Yeah. I saw the documentary of Jim Carrey just trying to become Andy Kaufman. Already, I'm like, that's some cuckoo shit right there. Yeah, that's Acme.
Yeah. When we worked together, so we were, and it's very cool to see how everyone's been doing different things.
I know,
so
right?
We were in this show. What was it? All-day workshop improv. I had, this is 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
5?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
5 years ago, we were in a show, and it was like a one-day workshop and then a show afterwards, but the group really vibed well together, and we did...
we did good.
Yeah, and then we became Chasing Endings, and Tyler Davis from that, he's now on main stage at Second City.
TD up on main stage.
Annalise.
She understudied.
She understudied at main stage, and now she's doing plays, like regional theater. I think she's in Minnesota doing a play right now.
Ooh.
Or Madison.
Oofta.
Some M's.
Yeah, one of those.
And it's just very cool to see where everyone's just transitioned and done different things.
Hamby's was directing over at Public House and is directing his own groups, and he's been just crushing it and grinding that way.
That's awesome.
Marsh.
Yeah, Laura Marsh.
She was choreographing a ton of dance around the city. I know I used her services as well. And she, every year did her spectacular Christmas special with Caroline. Everyone, you've got your whole jumboree going.
Yeah, and you're doing your clown. And
became
your
a clown. Yeah,
it's very cool how this group that was really fun to be a part of that we got to do, and we and then we all started with improv, and then we grew and went to do our own things.
We became who we were meant to be.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
But that was, and the musical improv and all of that was tough. That was fun.
Fuck musical improv. Now I have a lot of friends, not as an art form or anything, but as someone that just started comedy.
You had just started
improv comedy and has zero musical training. And then they're like, let's do an hour-long musical comedy. And it's like, what the fuck do you expect me to do?
But we did well.
We did.
We have Matt Griffo, who was great.
We made it through. I made it through. Everyone else did well. I just remember every day just being like, the fuck am I supposed to... It was a lot for a first-timer to ingest.
What was it? It was also Tyler's first improv group, too.
Tyler Davis? Mm-hmm. He did a lot more stuff in college.
He did? Well, he said it was his first Chicago
performance. For me, it was my first improv performance.
Oh, ever?
Not ever. No, I did it when I was younger, and I had a college group, but we would just, get really drunk on grain alcohol and then do short form games. So it's very different.
It was more like a drinking game for you.
Oh, it was more like just drinking, and then every once in a while, you'd yes and somebody.
Yeah. Where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Charleston, Illinois, Eastern Illinois. I basically wasted a lot of time and played rugby and did a little bit of improv. Actually, no, I'm going to say I didn't waste time because now...
That's what you're doing.
Now I'm actually... all the lessons I had learned in college, I'm finally applying. Just no one said you had to start your own business to do it. That was the thing.
I kind of think that they should just have a business or finance class at least for high schoolers. Because I think that's a really good skill. The successful kids, they get to go on Shark Tank. They can start their own business.
I'm in the education field. I work with a grade school and I've worked with high schools. They need to teach them a lot of shit. They home ec needs to be everyone's required class. I've just recently learned how to cook as an adult.
I've never had... Yeah, why did they cut out home ec and woodshop? They cut out all these
woodshop, terrible. Do you know how to fix your door? No. I
gotta pay someone to do it.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Actually, wait, I take that back. Because I went to theater school, I learned how to build sets, but I only know how to build things that are gonna last for 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, there's a bunch of... but then you can go down this rabbit hole of all of the things that we don't know that we need to know. You know?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting because what to prepare yourself for life now is so different than what it was.
Yeah, you couldn't gauge
but
it.
I still think that our education has gone so far down. I think, like, you look at someone like Dave Thomas who started Wendy's. He only went through the 8th grade, but the 8th grade back then is probably like going through high school now.
You had a lot of different skills needed. My great-grandfather never finished grade school or middle school, but he could become a mechanic because you could have trades. You could have trades that work. We can still have trades that work now, but also if you don't have the ability to like functionalize your business with the internet, you're kind of fucked, right? So there's what's
going to happen when all the robots take over all the jobs anyway?
I don't know.
Except for like, I don't think robots will become clowns. I don't think robots will become TV comedy writers.
Right.
So I think being in the creative field is actually kind of a good thing.
It's difficult. It is difficult, and it brings me a heightened level of anxiety because all we've ever done is try and become more efficient. And like, when does it end? Like, I glance at an ad, like I look at one ad about like rock climbing, and then for the next 6 weeks, everything of my social media is just like, oh, rock climbing. Like, how can you get even a more efficient form of commercialization?
Well, it's just the fact that they become efficient in trying to sell us stuff, that we're just things, we're just people to buy stuff.
Not
that's
just that.
all it is.
So I'm going to preface with a question that's going to make me sound like a pervert, but don't worry. Have you ever did you watch porn when you were a child in the dial-up era?
No, not porn. No, I have HBO, like I'd say more soft.
That's perfect. Yeah.
We had HBO, so I did see a couple like adult or more adult oriented films, but they were like R-rated movies that had a little sex.
Also, I need to back up and say that's perfect. I'm just saying, as a kid, that's how I found my smut as well. But like in the dial-up age, with the way those pornography websites worked, I know I got caught like once or twice with them. If you click on something and then you just get like 100 pop-ups.
Yeah.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. Go look at your computer now. It's more pop-ups than that. But like when you get one of those pop-ups or those viruses in the 90s and the early 2000s, you'd freak out because you're like, this is too much. And now you have like 19 tabs open with 14 different buttons on each tab. Just look at your fucking Facebook. There's 100 things to press. I've been talking to 4 people at one time while searching someone else and then listening to music. That's nuts!
Well, and also the thing is, I think that crazy... I mean, maybe it works for people, like I said, with ADD, that they can be doing a bunch of different things, but it's crazy that we can't focus. Like, I think it's making everybody not be able to focus on actual interaction and have eye contact and be, like, here and be present. And that's why I think theater is so important.
And maybe that's why I started an immersive theater company!
Yeah. Because the thing is that theater is one of the few places... It pissed me off because I was at a movie the other day and I saw somebody that had their phone on. The phone was lit up and I had to like go over and tap them and be like, hey, can you turn your phone off?
What were you watching?
It was The Disaster Artist.
Oh,
yes.
Was it?
It was good. It was really good.
Yeah. I'd say the movie theater and the actual theater is the only time I really turn my phone off. Yeah. And it's like a holy time for me. I'm like, you sleep now, gentle device.
Yeah.
The rest of the world is for myself.
And the thing is, it's one of the few times when you actually get to interact with people because everyone is on their fucking phones all the time. And I just wish, and like with Facebook, if Facebook didn't get me so many opportunities, I wouldn't have it. But I get booked a lot on Facebook. There's so many more opportunities that I get because of Facebook. So it is so hard not to.
I think Facebook to me sounds like, when I look at it, it's like the Frankenstein's monster. Like they were just trying to do a good concept. Like, create, because it is a great concept for connection and for self-expression and all these things. Little do they know that they would completely manipulate and change our entire way of looking at each other and doing stuff.
And now the fact is that they're just trying to, instead of trying to show you different things, they're trying to just, like, already predict what you like and keep showing you the things you like or you don't like. So even if you're, like, kind of like liberal, you see a bunch of things and then you slowly become more liberal because of all the things you see and you read and it's all these different
Frankenstein's monster. He was like, I'm gonna bring someone back to life, and then he goes and murders a bunch of people.
Well, and also because the whole thing, like, I don't know if you heard about the Funny or Die stuff, you know, about how a lot of people just got laid off from Funny or Die.
Oh.
Because they're not making enough ad revenue because everyone's like looking at their stuff on Facebook and like there's not like they're not actually going to the website. So people aren't actually going to outside websites, they're just staying on Facebook, and it's like killing these other comedy areas that could be getting revenue.
Yeah, I mean, this is how I see it, is Google, Amazon, and Facebook come together and become our new overlord.
Oh, and
then we all wear matching costumes, and like life seems great, but then we're eating something like Soylent Greens or something.
So it'd be like Goof Face Mon.
Yeah.
Goof Face. Yeah. Goof Face on.
Yeah.
Goof Face on.
Yeah. There'll probably be.
They're always competing for each other.
There could be like some tragic accident, could have been started by purpose, and then the people that bail us out is the Google, Facebook, Amazon, and then we enslave ourselves to them. Which would, I mean, seems pretty cool. Google already owns my ass anyway, so this time it's just official.
Yeah. What do you mean Google owns your ass?
It has all my information. Yeah. And I am a useless puppy without it. I was, oh God, when my Google Maps goes down, all I could do is light fires to see if people will find me.
Yeah. It is weird how dependent we've become on these things.
Especially grammar. So I have dyslexia and ADHD, and I'm a writer, which is not a great combination. Like, I can write, I'm really great with my cultivation of ideas, but writing to me is actually a discipline because it's not a fun thing. It's the hardest thing I have to do when I have to like beat out a script and finish it. I've got notebooks upon notebooks of ideas and everything, but I hate it when I have to sit down and put it all together because it's not easy for me to do.
No.
And especially with like grammar, you were talking about Tinder. Fuck, am I doing bad with online dating? I am such bad grammar, and I'm really bad at typing and talking. But it's a combination of being lazy and just not being good at it. And then,
but I think most people on Tinder will assume that it's laziness.
And they do, and it's also because like I didn't take the work. Like, that's another Frankenstein's monster, spell check. Someone was just like, what if instead of you having to go to your assistant, we just or your editor, we'll just help you out with a few words and grammar? And they're like, that's a great concept. Let's do that in the late 90s, early 2000s. Well, fast forward 10 years later. We all have the reading ability of a fourth grader that just chugged a bunch of Robitussin. Like, it's...
Yeah, I think if and when I ever have kids, I'm going to have like a no internet day, like whatever, Sundays or whatever, no phones, no anything. You have to do things old school. You have to read a book. You have to like look shit up.
Yo, talking about that right now. There's this amazing theater called the I believe it's Film and Theater Company. They have this show called Forts.
I just saw an ad for that.
Oh my God, go to it! Do it!
Where is that at?
It's
so it's like where people are building forts with their kids.
So here's
it's a bunch of boxes.
This is what they did: is they put our childhood, the best parts of our childhood, into a space and let children enjoy it. Like that's so. They took their black box space and they removed all of the seating and all of the staging and then put foam padding on the ground.
Yeah.
And then the top, the fucking lights are gorgeous. They got strings of Christmas lights and antique chandeliers. And then there's a series of couches around there. And you go inside and there's about 4 towers stacked about 6 to 7 feet by 4 feet of just boxes. They have like 250 boxes in there. And they open it and they tell the kids like the rules for safety. And then they open the curtains and they just go, play.
Can just adults do it too?
There's adult night coming up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When is adult night? I want to go.
This Saturday, and there's another one.
Out of town.
Look it up. They'll probably have more. And what I witnessed, I went, because I'm trying to, for me, I'll like you said, I'll ask anybody if I could have their ear. And I loved I loved their idea. And I was like, can I come and watch? Can I see what you have done? I love this idea. Because there's no linear narrative. So they let the kids in there, and then every 15 minutes they alter the space, either by adding more objects for them to play with, like crayons or blankets.
I like that.
Or they change the lighting and the mood and the music. So they're just kind of like letting the children create the story. If there even is a story. And you got to like see these kids just come out as who they are. Like one kid was with his mom. He's just hoarding boxes. He's like, these are all ours. And we're going to make this. This other girl was like sharing with everyone. Oh, I saw the cutest part where like this young this young girl and this young boy grabbed the same box at the same time and then looked at each other. Oh, it was a fucking meat cute.
It was a toddler meat cute.
Yeah. It was great. And then like they got nervous, and then the girl introduced herself, and then the boy just like ripped the box up and ran away, and I was like, coward.
They're gonna fall in love in 10 years.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. And it was just, you just saw that play, that thing I love about play, and then...
There used to be more freedom with that stuff. So we used to have a place, because I know that Discovery Zone was popular, but that had like the whole like lanes. Oh. But we had this place, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. We had this place called Leaps and Bounds. So it was kind of like Discovery Zone, except there were no boundaries. Like there was like entrance, but there was this huge tower of like four levels high, 4 or 5 levels high, where they all connected with different slides and different ball pits and different random things. Yeah. It was all like one huge structure.
That sounds
and
amazing.
I used to love going to that. And we had a Manny. I think you would be a great Manny as well.
Oh, I'd be a killer Manny.
But yeah,
I was teaching kindergarten today.
And he used to take us, and like he would play, because he was like 16 or something at the time, 16. He would like come in and like play with us on it, and it was like really fun as a kid, because there was that whole playful like going through, and this is before people were that worried about like germs and a bunch of that
Children's
shit.
imaginations have definitely been stifled with the inability to be bored and have to create stories and characters of their own, and the capitalization that there's money on entertaining children as well. So like people are there have been some amazing stories coming out, especially for kids.
Yeah.
But the drawback is now, one, there's not like kid content. There's just fucking content. Like I'm a cadre sub for a school, so that means like I just go to one school and I cover everything that they need. And so I'm with kindergarten through 8th grade every week, and they all know the same references. They all know Captain America. They all know Donald Trump. There's no like the kid stuff. I mean, the only one I think you can say is sex, but like once the kids understand how to fucking look up porn, they do, because they're curious. If there's one thing a child is not, it's curious. They want to learn about the world around them. And unfortunately, there's some good things where they can research almost any information.
But then they can also come across like disturbing stuff.
Well, not just disturbing stuff, but they're not experimenting. They're not like learning it for themselves. They're not like...
Like back in the day, you had to like go out of your way to get like a Playboy magazine or something like that.
It was an adventure,
It was like a big deal just to get a hold of one. It was like you had to sneak into somebody's dad's office and find the one that he hadn't looked at, you know. And like they would, I mean, this is from... I didn't do this, but like other people.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't...
No, we all believe you.
I'm not a... Actually, wait, one time I did come across my uncle's. He had some that I had found once, and I looked at it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I didn't go out of my way to look for it.
Right.
Versus like little boys will usually.
Yeah.
But, and that's another thing, I think, like sexuality. I think that you know, at the same age when boys are told, you know, like told about masturbating and things like that, I think that they should tell girls about that too, so that girls know that sex is for them, and so that we don't have as much problems with like this whole like, like I totally believe in enthusiastic consent and all that, and I think that if we taught women you know, when they become like 13, 14, be like, hey, by the way, you know, this is designed for your pleasure. This is what you should do to enjoy yourself as well. Because maybe that's like, people might be offended by that, but I don't care.
You are aware that I was raised by lesbians.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I have,
moms. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, my early part of the youth, but I would definitely, after like 5th grade, it was a matriarchal household. So I have had a very strong education on the female sexuality and its restraints due to societal norms, and I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And I've been trying to work on designing some comedy to be able to talk about my experiences, because I myself came from a very conservative Christian background, and like definitely more of
so conservative Christian background with 2 mothers.
Well, yeah, there was a reason why there was a divorce.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I see. So okay.
Yeah.
I was confused.
I was a standard nuclear family.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought you always had 2 moms.
Oh, no.
That was my confusion.
No, that's not weird.
So you were a standard nuclear family.
And then...
Divorce.
And like... I definitely grew up with some very strong toxic masculinity in my veins. And I always knew from a young age that it felt off. It felt weird. It felt because I was just like, that doesn't seem like the thing I should be doing. But I wanted to impress my peers, and I wanted to pursue this thing. And it's so funny now that I'm older and I've actually been able to look back and look at all the other stuff that I used to, and I've just been doing the exact opposite with just like the polar opposite. Completely blunt, exactly where you want to be, being very calm, nice, treating a woman's sexuality as more of a gift than a given. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to learn how to cook is because I wanted to date better. And let me tell you, I started to learn how to cook when I was with my ex-partner. And then when we separated, I was like, I'm going to make sure I learn how to make some tight meals. Because before we were just trying to eat healthy. And now I'm like, I'm going to learn how to baste steak and butter and thyme and then make some potatoes. Who wants to go on a date with me right now? You fucking do, because that right. Because
I was like, that sounds really good.
Like the art of wooing someone has flown out the window. Oh my god, it has.
That is so frustrating. The art of wooing has totally flown out the window.
And I'm not talking about chivalry bullshit. That can go die in the Middle Ages where it belongs.
But I mean actually making an effort. One of my frustration things with dating is when a guy or a girl, well, I mean, I don't date girls as much, but sometimes. But, when they don't make the plans. If they ask me out and they're like, hey, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you... I of course I know great things to go do, but it's so nice when somebody actually plans something. Or, hey, I think you would really like to go do this thing.
I think that...
And I think
that just doesn't come just from dating. To me that just comes from treating humans. And treating humans' time with respect.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with people's time. I treat your time well because you could be doing anything else, but you're hanging with me. That's also wraps up my theatrical mentality.
Yeah.
You could be watching all the things on Netflix. You could be going to the movies and seeing all the stuff that Marvel's shit now. But you're spending your time to come see, even more so your money. And how do you get money? Usually by sacrificing your time.
Yeah.
And so for me, if I've scheduled something, I know there's there's few people I've just cut out completely in my life.
Oh, because they were flakes?
Well, no. Only one or two because they're flakes. I usually give people usually people I cut out as you've done something awful as a human. But I remember one person we set up. We had we set up a date and time. I even followed up with a confirmation, and then day of, he's like, "Oh, I'm in Tennessee" or some shit like that. And I was like, and it wasn't. I didn't need to be aggressive or mean. I was just like, there's nothing in me that needs to keep this communication with this person if he won't respect my time. Because it's an old philosophy. It's an old poem. I wonder if it's I think it's something Japanese, or it could not be.
It could be a haiku.
It could be but it was a story about if you could sacrifice 10 years and get all of your and get 40 years worth of money, would you? And every person said no, because they're there's so much you can do in 10 years. There's so much life you can live. And I'm butchering it, and now after this podcast I'm going to look it up and memorize it so I can actual quote it. But I just remember it leaving an impact on me. About this is your time, because you can't get time back.
Yeah. When
it's spent, it's gone. So, and not everyone has a lot of it, and you don't know how much of it you have either. I have
that is a scary thing.
A friend of mine has a very powerful tattoo on his back, and it says "Tomorrow's promised to no one," and I remember that.
Oh.
I've had a few people that you realize what that's like.
It's a very scary thing. You don't know, and that. Things can happen suddenly, and it's a scary thing. And that's why I think doing things living in the moment, or experiencing live theater and doing these things instead of just wasting your time watching, binge watching a Netflix, which they have great content. Don't get me wrong, they do, but there are other,
I mean,
I binge watch,
I watch so much YouTube, it's stupid. So I've wasted time. Trust me. But I agree. There is an element of life that you need to experience. I wrote because I run into my own neuroses and motivation problems, but when I was on the tail end of a depression spiral, I remember getting out of it, and I was like, all right, I got to do something different. Yeah. I just remember like everything that I've been doing so far has not been making me feel happy and not improving my life or moving anything forward. And so this was definitely on some mushrooms. Just say it out loud.
I've had revelations on mushrooms as well. I think it's great.
Well, I wrote myself a note and I put it in my pocket and I put it on my wall after that, and it just said like, "You're awake now. Do something about it." Oh. And
that's really great. I think that specifically relates to me a little bit more because I slept basically 2 years of my life away before I was medicated.
Sure.
And so a lot of the things, like when I'm awake, I try to accomplish as much as I can. That's why some people are like, "Oh, how are you doing all of these things?" It's like, because I have no choice because I wasted. I basically did waste. I slept 2 years of my life away.
I drank about 4 of them, so I feel you on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and it doesn't always have to be like accomplish something to further your goal or get better at your vocation, but just like also try to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's such a hard philosophy because I don't have it figured out, but I'm trying to work at it, because you're gonna be sad. That's why blues music is so great and why it exists. Mm-hmm. But like you have to. I don't know, you have to have some sort of movement. Not always. So, I definitely have days where I don't put pants on and I just eat stuff I order. But it's not every day.
It's not every day.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do if you are, like, kind of sad and you have to clown and you have to play?
They're very interesting.
How does that incorporate? Are you still being true to yourself and your feeling? Mm-hmm. Or do you put on more of a facade to push to be more fun and playful on stage?
I mean, that's an interesting setup. Definitely, like... Well, because my next show is going to be about that. I'm it's going to be called The Upside of Depression, and it's a man's walk away from all of his sadness.
Okay.
It was originally going to be the pontification of a sad white man, but I don't think that works too well. But for performance-wise, a lot of times, it'll affect it, 100%. A lot of times I'll just kind of have like a meaner character, because no one likes... Sadness isn't always funny. You got to be very sharp. The way that you can make someone being sad funny is if other people can relate to you. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very humanly sad.
It is difficult, and I found talking about narcolepsy and stand-up, it is also, because I'm not a sad person about it, but it did take a couple years to really figure out how the audience could relate to that material and still laugh about it without feeling guilty, which is a balance to play around with. And I think... if you don't, I don't know if you watched Broad City, but this last season, in the most recent season, there's an episode where they deal with a little bit of depression, and so that was.
I didn't see that episode.
But they've got one of them has a happy light that they keep coming back to, and it's interesting. But they did talk a little bit in the after thing about how it is hard to try to make something like depression funny, and there is this weird balance, and you have to be. It's like this fine line, when you're doing something like that. Mm-hmm. So how do you deal with that?
How do I deal with depression in general?
No, or how do you deal with using that line?
I think one of the biggest thing, first off, professional help. Mm-hmm. If you can afford it, if you can find a way to afford it, go seek a professional. And all my friends that are sad and are like, I don't want to go see a therapist because there's like this stigma about it. Mm-hmm. Tell them to go fuck themselves in their pride.
Yeah.
There's
no stigma about it anymore, by the way.
There still is, but because there's this, even I still feel it too because there's a sense of weakness. As a guy that's been raised to be like a man's man, there's a feeling of weakness that you can't handle your emotions, you can't handle yourself. But I look at it this way. Why do you go to a doctor? Because you have something that's wrong with your body, and these fuckers have studied their ass off to know about the body, so that's why you go talk to them. It's the same reason why you go talk to an architect to build a building, because they know about that subject. So a psychologist, they're not going to know everything, but they've studied it more than you.
Yeah, and it's better than also putting all that stuff on friends, as well. Like, you could use your friend, yes, of course, your friends can be a sounding board, but, to do it all the time, that can be an exhausting...
Well, not just that for your friends, but also your friends haven't studied emotions for 8 fucking years. So, go to that person. I'd say that was a huge help because a lot of times... sometimes you have like one blockage. You have like one thing that like once that is fixed or rerouted, then you can increase. I'm a very visual, conceptual person. You can increase your output of positive thinking or of like just doing more stuff. So if like you're wake up and you're like, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself. And then you're not going to be more successful in other things, and it's just going to compound onto this self-deprecation. But if you you go find someone and they can like put it off the first one, they're like, okay, you know what? So you shit on yourself all the time. How about we just like change one thing? And so instead of having a self-deprecating mantra, you can have a positive mantra or just nothing at all. Then you can start doing more and more things to help out. Yeah. So I think professional help, physical health is huge. Eating really well and exercising. Just do it. It just makes you feel better. Food, most of the food that you eat probably makes you feel like shit, and you need to eat healthier.
We've got too much crap and sugar and crap and all the stuff we have.
Dude, I went Whole30 paleo for 60 days when I was depressed.
I went no sugar, no added sugar, sugar and fruits, but and no carbs for like 2 or 3 months last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm still no added sugar most of the time.
Right. And like everyone asks me like, how did you do that? I'd be like, well, I sufficiently drank a lot of alcohol for a long time, and that wasn't easy either. So I just put the switch on the other end.
Reversing exactly what you did before.
Yeah, literally, it's nuts when I look at it. And so yeah, I'd say you got your mind, professional health, body, workout, like get some endorphins going. It just makes you feel better. And then socialize. Like go out and socialize.
Just go outside.
Go outside is a great one, but be with other people. And if you're always like, I don't know what to do, learn how to cook. People will come over and hang out with you if you cook.
Yeah.
Or like have something. Like you're talking about plans. Give someone a carrot to come hang out with you. Be like, oh, dude, let's play video games. I got video games. Fuck yeah, I'll come over and play video games.
That's
like,
good.
Go catch up with people. Do a thing.
Yeah, I like that. That's good advice.
Yeah, I would say. And then positive mantras are good.
One that I have. So there's from this book that I have, but this actually changed my perspective on things. It's thinking about if you're going through like a seasonal depression or you're just depressed or something. Think it like. Happiness is not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens. Yeah, no, you have very few choices in this world, actually. Yeah. In retrospect. So it's definitely how you take it, you take it in. And the biggest thing that I want to convey to anyone if they actually have depression and they're listening is it's not fucking easy. No. Everything I'm saying, like I've done it already, so I can say it with that positive spin, but like it's hard. It's hard, especially like when you are at moments where you hate yourself and you hate everything you're doing, and then they're like, oh, just love yourself, just take care of yourself. It's difficult. It is very hard, and I think I think I've become more like understanding. And what I love is that some of my friends are way more open about it. Like I had a thing the other night, and one of my friends was to be like, hey, dude, I'm just going through a real bad bout of depression. And it's like, okay, do you need anything? Like, and I get it, and that's okay. Sometimes it's just really hard to leave.
I drop those phone calls on people, and I'll get them dropped on me, and they're like, do you have a minute? I'm like, how many? He's like, I probably need like an hour. And I was like, call me in 20 minutes. Yeah. You're like, let me get myself settled in. It's important.
And I think people are afraid to call people nowadays.
We're all
and that's sad. People should be okay. Like if you need to talk to someone, call them.
We're all in this together. We're all stuck in this fucking life together. I was talking with my new roommate recently about that. We think it's interesting that so many more people of our age and younger ages are now seeking professional help or admitting towards forms of trauma, depression, PTSD, and it's one of those cause or correlation things where like, oh, is just more people getting depressed? And I'm like, I don't think so.
No, I think it's the same amount of people. They're just being more open about it.
Right. Like back in the day, if someone was like drooling in the street, they're like, that's a demon, instead of like, it could have a multiple amount of neurotic. So I just think of my grandma just died.
Sorry to hear that.
No, don't. She was an awful person. She's a linchpin of horror in our family.
Wow. Okay.
But she was 100 years old, and I hadn't talked to her. She died at 100. I hadn't talked to her for like 5 years because we just would always fight. And I'd just be like, I would come over and I'd try and like help out stuff around the apartment because I was the closest family member there. She'd just be mean to me. And
why? Because
she's depressed. Like, it doesn't go away. Like, that anger, it actually compounds and makes it worse. So I worked with dementia patients, and I was an activities director. So I would, like, go to senior homes, and I would work with them on making sure that they would have cognitive stimulation and physical stimulation.
Yeah.
And you just see all these people with these terrible neuroses that they never got taken care of.
Oh, that's so sad.
So they would just be depressed their whole lives. And not realize
that's not how you're supposed to feel.
That's not how you're supposed to feel. And there was like no way around it. The studies weren't there to confirm it, to figure it out. There wasn't a want, and there was also that mentality of strength that everyone needed to uphold. Like you need to be resound and strong in your emotions. When fuck that. Like I think if you hold in emotions, you're just it's either gonna come back and bite you in the ass, or you're gonna become a crazy person.
Yeah.
And usually those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
That's my feeling on it. I'm not a scholar. I'm only 28. Like I'm still trying to figure shit out and learn
we're
stuff.
We're all still trying to figure shit out. I mean, honestly, when I think I mentioned this. So this is what I always read this book. I've rebought it a bunch of times because I buy it for friends when they're sad. So there's a book called How to Be Happy, Damn It. It's like a cynic's guide to happiness. And it's just like...
Oh, it's got pictures!
It's got pictures and like silly little philosophies. And the thing I said earlier was about that. But like the very first thing is like you're born, you get smacked on the ass. And your first life lesson, that's not fair. You know, life isn't fair. And it's like it takes like half an hour to read. So whenever I feel sad, I read it. And I've given it to a lot of different friends. So I've probably rebought this book like 8 or 9 times.
I'll take a picture of this. I'll definitely want to read it.
Yeah, it's really good. That just makes me happy. It's called How to Be Happy, Damn It by Karen Samuelson.
Sorry, Karen.
But it's I bought your book a bunch, Karen. So please don't. But it's really just like it's visually nice. It's just simple things that just remind you, hey, you know, don't look for kiwis in a shoe store. You know, don't ask people that don't have what you need for things that they can't give you.
I had a book that I really loved called Furiously Happy.
Ooh.
And I can't even remember the author's name. Wonderful lady. And she basically just like pointedly says like, I'm fucked up and I've got problems and here's my life with them. And she just had this attitude of, I'm going to become furiously happy, where I'm going to make it a main goal to try and maintain happiness. Because you can set yourself to task for so many things. And we do already just to, like, function. Like, you got to make sure your taxes are paid, and you got to be fed, and you usually got to shit in a place that accepts shit. Like toilets and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, like, if you can set yourself to task to try and become happier, like, live... there's another great book, Daring Greatly. That's a great one about...
Daring Greatly?
Yeah, standing open to your emotions. It's... I've seen multiple sides of it. That's like my philosophies come from this is like I've had a small wealth of different subcultures. I was on a rugby team. I was a part of a fraternity. I used to be a hazmat construction road worker.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the educational system. I worked with seniors. I've had customers from ages 5 all the way to 90. Like I've dealt with all, and so I'm just like looking at all these people and then also looking at myself. And there is some beauty to stoicism and like being able to be maintained and hold yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to be able to have that. But to like stay, what's the saying? To be still on, fuck, nope, I'm going to say this wrong. What is it? To see, they'd rather, what, okay. This is all going to be edited in post. The problem with it, and also like being a man, and this is just going to like make other people like make the right boil in their heads that I'm showing that men have weakness. But an idea that we used to have was it's better to see a man die on his horse than for him to get off of it. Of like it's better for like us to have the stoic presence and this powerful feel, even if we're losing our fucking minds inside and we're super sad and it leads to a terrible life. As long as we have this image that we're up and we're powerful.
And I think the problem with social media is that it's portraying these images of people that maybe are like living a different kind of life than they actually are.
Oh,
they actually
yeah.
Feel like. So it's like everyone appears like they're up on their horse and they're really like getting trampled by it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Don't try and act like you're still on your horse or you'll be trampled by it. New saying.
Oh, hey!
New saying.
Look at that. We can, that's
Quote
awesome.
us. Make it a meme.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Well, this actually kind of leads into, so I know we talked a little bit about sleep earlier, but I always ask people like what your dreams are for your future and your goals.
Yeah. So I have a boss of mine that will hire me every once in a while in the summer to work these music festivals. And that's where I got started in circus and clowning.
Yeah, like the EDM Fest, right?
Yeah. I like funk music more than EDM. If everyone's like, oh, you like that? But like, no. They're smaller. And I actually prefer smaller stages because I can get closer to, I'll never go to Lollapalooza again. Mm-hmm. Way too big.
Yeah.
But her name's Nova. And Nova... told me I was just picking her brain one time. I was like, what do you got for advice? I love what you do. I love this. I want to get more involved in it. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? And she, this is another parable I'm going to demolish. I can't remember these. It's terrible to quote something not knowing. But she talked about the bee and pollen, where like a bee just is attracted to pollen because that's all it needs to do. If it had like anxieties and problems and all these other things, it would never pollinate. We'd never have flowers. We'd never have fruit. Like all this shit would go south. So she said, follow what is most attractive to you. Like you don't need to focus too heavy on the big picture and not too much on the small picture of like, is this precise and perfect? Am I doing? Just follow what's attractive to you. Do it intelligently. Don't like leave everything behind for this one thing. Do it with intelligence, but follow what's attractive to you. And right now, what's attractive to me is immersive theater. And so I would like to have my own company. I'd like to be able to easily support my castmates and my friends financially. I'd like for them to be able to have living wages off of me. I'd like to have the Acme grow to where it needs to be, whether the dreams of performing across the states, across the country, across the waters, across the globe would be dope. Or if it grew into a different production house and we worked on different creative means. And maybe it boiled down and I become a full-time grade school teacher of the theatrical arts, as long as it's like what is appealing. Like I'm starting a company. We have an Indiegogo campaign, you know? Yeah. I got my first donations today. It was dope. They were all from my family, but still great to have them.
It's still awesome to have that support.
Actually, no. I will say it and I'll put it on this. Ethan Krupp, thank you for your first donation, you handsome bastard. The first guy to do it was my buddy from comedy school.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, $25. I appreciate it. Those are my dreams, to keep learning, keep growing, and keep teaching in any way, and try and inspire positive things around people at all times. And who knows, every once in a while have some fun.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. It's a fantastic answer. Thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We always end by saying good night. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Seth Origitano. Be sure to check out Acme Theatrics at facebook.com/Acme Theatrics. Go to their Indiegogo, support them on that, and also check out their Playground show on February 16th and 17th. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We're brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can find out more on sleepingwithsarah.com. And please follow me on Twitter @SarahAlbritton. Until next time, good night.